Today we're checking out this tabletop fire pit by Estoke. This was sent to us at no cost, so we can do this review. So let's go ahead, take this thing out of the box and check it out. All right, so when you take it out of the box, and one thing I do want to note is that little box was packaged really well. I mean, it had multiple layers of cardboard inside of it protecting it. So that is really nice. You don't want to be getting one of these at home after it's been shipped and have like little dings all in it. I mean, they packaged this thing really well. So what comes in here, you got all your manuals and everything, and Estoke manuals are really nice. Comes with like a little carrying bag to put all of this stuff in when you're done. This is the smoke ring. You've got a nice like heat resistant silicone pad here. So if you want to put it on a table, that way it doesn't mess up your table. It's got the little ashtray, the little ash insert that goes inside. It's got this raised heat stand here. It's got this, I'm not exactly sure what this is right now, but I bet you it has something to do with this, ashtray here because of that. And of course, it's got this really nice, just high quality fire pit. I mean, these things are not, this is just as high quality as the big fire pits that we have from them. And I mean, honestly, this thing is even cooler because it has more pieces to it. And I like the fact that it's just going to be able to sit on a tabletop and burn. This is probably going to put out a good amount of heat and still let you do all the cool little stuff like cook s'mores and stuff, right? So I'm going to put all this together. We're going to get it ready and we're going to test it out. All right, so I did go through the manual, and that little central column, that little metal piece that goes in there, is really used for when you're burning pellets. And it talks about it here. It talks about allowing the right amount of air into there. So when, the pellets are in there, you get all the air you need to combust those. It looks like you can use those if you're doing wood too, but it might be in the way. So you choose if you want to use that or not. It's supposed to help reduce smoke. So very cool. These manuals are really awesome. So definitely read your manual when you get it. This is what it's going to look like when it's all set up. It looks really nice. Smoke ring, got the little column there. And again, you can just take the column in or out. Based upon your need, we will probably be burning just small chunks of wood. So I might not use the column. But we cut up our wood pretty small for stuff like this. So we might still be able to use all of that with that column and make it burn nice. All right, so I'm outside in the backyard on our patio table. I've got the really nice silicone pad that they have. This is like a nice grip pad that you can put down to make sure, you don't mess up. This is glass, as you can see through it. But, even if you have wood or whatever, it comes with this pad to make sure you're not, overheating whatever's below it. Then I've got this thing put together with the heat ring taken off or the smoke ring taken off. And, now that I look at it, even with this in, I was going to run it without this because I'm not going to do pellets. But even with this in, I think I can easily put the little pieces of wood that I've cut up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing packed, put on top of the silicone piece, and we're going to get it lit up and see how well it does. All right, so I've got the fire pit in place. I've got, bark and sticks. I've even got some, cut up log pieces like this. And then I've got some paper at the bottom. This is basically how I start most of my fire pits. So I'm going to do the same thing to start this one, make sure that, that's going to be a good method. And I'm going to go ahead and light some of the paper that I have down in here, and we're going to get this thing started. All right, so as you can see, it's going to have some smoke when you start getting it, lit up. That takes a little bit to get going, so I'm going to let that happen, and I'll turn this back on when we've got a good little fire. All right, so we've got a good little fire going in there. It's still burning paper, so that's why we've got the smoke that we have now. I put the fire ring on top to kind of centralize that fire and start that kind of reburn to start happening. So as soon as the tinder and the wood get started in there, that reburn will start happening and you'll start seeing the smoke go away. All right, so this thing went from I'm getting started to I ain't playing around pretty quickly. So this is what we've got going on now. A nice hot flame. It started just as easy as any of the other fire pits, but I can already feel, of course, this heat just radiating around this table. So this isn't just for looks. This thing is definitely putting off a good amount of heat. It's getting even hotter because this thing is going, man. This thing is burning like crazy. I did put a lot of fuel in there, though. So I did start it off with a bunch of wood pieces because I like to build a good ash at the bottom pretty much on any of these. But I mean, look at this thing. It is just going to town. It's already got that secondary burn going on, and there is no smoke. This thing is running smokeless right now. Let's see if I can get it up high. No smoke coming out of this thing. you know, it does give off heat. It could heat an entire 6, 8 people around this thing, and they would definitely feel the heat off of it. So definitely useful for that. If you want it just for ambiance and maybe cooking s'mores, you know, some of the things like that, just let the fire burn down. Make sure the flames, you know, underneath the top of this thing, and you'll be good to go. That is a nice flame, and it's awesome. I mean, there's no smoke coming off. It's not going to bother anybody. And that is, I mean, if you wanted to run it like this, you could. You just have to keep feeding it. But that is a huge flame coming off this small fire pit. Another thing I'm going to note on this is I don't smell, you know, I know there's no smoke, but I don't smell the smoke. So it doesn't feel like I'm going to walk away smelling like a campfire. I'm sure you're going to get a little bit of a smoke smell to you anytime you're around a fire, but I really don't smell it. Man, this thing is still going. I have not added more fuel to it, but as you can see down there where those holes are, that is that secondary burn that happens that really just reburns all the smoke, so that way there's nothing left. I mean, smoke still has fuel in it, so it's just reburning it and making this just pure flame coming out of here. And boy, is it warm. This is pretty hot for a little stovetop. If you're going to have people sitting here eating, you do not want it this big. When I say fuel, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I cut up to put in there. I just went to our regular, you know, fire pit wood that we would normally use. Normally, I would cut these in much larger chunks, mainly about the size of a fist. But I cut these up smaller because I wanted them to fit into this smaller, you know, tabletop fire pit. And so this is the size pieces of wood I put in there. If you're using pellets, I don't know how long pellets are going to burn. I don't actually use anything that uses pellets, but I usually cut these kind of things up real small if I want to do, you know, like a small fire, even one of my regular fire pits. This is burning really nice, and it's just starting to come down. So I'm going to let it burn down kind of low, get all of that burned down real low into almost just ash, and we'll see how well it did. All right, so the flame is pretty much mellowed down. You can see down there, it's just a furnace inside of there pretty much. And it's still putting off a good amount of heat. This to me is a good resting time. I would slowly feed that with fuel to keep like a really nice warm area. And then it's still, of course, super hot on top. So you could easily make s'mores on top of this. Most roast marshmallows, do whatever you want to do, because you can still see there's definitely a good hot flame in there. But coming out of it, no, it's pretty much down inside and it's just burning what's in there. So yeah, this is a really cool little tabletop fire pit. Definitely 2 thumbs up from me. We'll be using this quite often in the backyard and probably bringing this with us on camping trips. I hope you liked the review. Thank you very much for watching. Y'all take care.